Well, if Wednesday's hump day, no, we're not going to hump anything. It's fight day, baby! All day long on Wednesday, we got 2 great interviews for you coming at you. We had 5 yesterday. We got 2 today. This is, of course, the Logan Summit Show. I am your host, Logan Summit. And just remember, you're not. All right, let's get to it. We have a big man in the building today. He's one of our woodsy neighbors to the north. His name is Michael Robinson. Hey, Mike, how you doing today?
Yeah, it's not like one of those cool names, I sometimes wish I had something a little bit more ethnic, like Balthazar or something.
Well, do you have a nickname yet? Have they given you a nickname?
No, and it's not cool if you pick your own, right?
No, I mean, unless you're Shaquille O'Neal. If you are Shaq, you can pick your own nickname. He's like, I'm going to call myself the amazing Papa John today. Yeah, I'm the beef eater, pepperoni, extra slice.
I don't think you're going to call Shaq. You know what I mean?
He does whatever he wants. He's Shaquille O'Neal, though. I stood next to him a few times. I was down doing sports talk down in Miami after I left ESPN. And the first time I met Shaq was, all right, this is crazy to say. I shouldn't even say this out loud. I met Shaquille O'Neal with P. Diddy at an R. Kelly concert in Miami. No, God. I mean, I shouldn't even be able to say that out loud. I should be canceled just for being there. But the cool thing about Shaq is he is the largest human being I've ever seen. And he had this huge platinum and diamond cross. And D Wade came through and he turned real quick. And because I'm staring at that's how tall he is. I'm looking at that cross. I had to do like a Stooges move and go, whoop, and duck out of the way. And he came back with it, and I had to duck out of the way again. And he looks at me, he's like, oh, little man, I almost killed you with my bling. And I was like, yeah. You almost did. I could have probably owned the bling if I would have just sat in there and took it like a man, right? All right, well, enough about Shaquille O'Neal. How is Windsor, Ontario, Canada treating you today?
It's a good place, man. Like, I grew up here, obviously. Detroit's right across the border. So, every morning you wake up, you see the GM Trade Tower there, the Renaissance Tower, and we got a great waterfront. So it's a great little city. Nothing special, nothing big going on like you got in the, high-end stuff. But
yeah, but you found a great training camp there in actual Windsor, Ontario. You've got the Thai gym over there that you've been training at. Are you currently still with them?
Yeah, we're really lucky that for such a small city that we have such a competitive team and guys who are like, their bodies are really built for the sport. Like, we got a lot of tall, long guys for striking sports. It's just a really good thing. It gives you a lot of experience, and then the competition as well. So even though we have a lot of guys who maybe don't have like impressive records at the moment because we're sort of all just getting started as a team, you can tell like there's a lot of things coming together for the future.
That's great. I try not to say the same things over and over again, but we always end up hitting on this with each and every single fighter. It takes a village to build a fighter. You're in the ring by yourself, but it's that team that gets you into the ring and allows you to be prepared and at your absolute best. So it's great that you have a home over there. Now, do you ever sneak into the United States and go down to Detroit, or are the tariffs too high for you?
No, I haven't. I want to go to the States. I used to go there all the time as a kid with my dad. Once COVID came around, it's just haven't had a reason to go back since. So hopefully soon.
Yeah, they won't let me back into Canada right now. I have family up there, actually. It took my cousin 9 months after she was married to actually let Canada be like, all right, you can stay. You can stay. But you know what? There's a lot of great fighters up there in Canada. We haven't been able to shine a light on a lot of the great Canadian fighters. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just a smaller market. Americans naturally, they want to support for their own guys and girls, right? So it's just, you got 10 times, 11 times more folks than us. So every now and then we break through in some type of market, you get a couple big name actors and stuff like that. I think we'll see some more in the future. I think there's a good chance.
I do too. What are some of the big MMA leagues up in Canada that we should have and keep an eye out for?
I think Unified operates out of the GTA, which is kind of like our biggest metropolitan. So a lot of the talent goes there and sort of the run up to try and get to the big leagues like the UFC and stuff. In the North American market, we don't really have a big kickboxing scene, like not a professional one anyway. There's a lot of good amateur stuff. But like Europe has like Glory World Series, Asia has ONE FC. Uh, really in the North American market, you just have sort of MMA. There's no kickboxing, Muay Thai. It's very much still a niche. So
Well, hopefully you'll be able to get into it, and you will be getting into it on May 24th with the King Striking Series. Now, I wasn't able to find who your opponent is. Do you actually know who you're fighting on May 24th yet?
not yet. We've had a couple opponent changes. I got a name. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I know we'll be posting it shortly. The sort of fight posters, but
Well, you're not that old. You shouldn't be forgetting stuff quite yet, but that's okay. I get it. Look, King Striking Series, I'm sure you got to be excited to get back in the ring and right your ways. Look, you got defeated in your first outing. What have you learned since then that's going to be able to change that trajectory and have your hand raised high at the end of the match?
I think the biggest thing is nerves going in that first time. No matter how much you prepare, whether you've only been training a month or a year, the first time you're really in there with someone who has intention to, well, to hopefully end the fight in their favor, right? You just sort of you take a deep breath and you start contracting all your muscles and you're just really tense, and I don't think there's any way around that. There's no real way to prepare for that, even if you've been in, unfortunately, like street altercations and things like that. So yeah, this go around, that's the biggest thing, is just working on breathing leading up to it, working on not getting too excited, and now that it's a little bit more familiar territory. But I think for most guys, like your first three fights, you're battling your own nerves more than you are the other guy.
And we all have the same anxieties. We all go through that. I've seen fighters for the first time in IRL. I was in the locker room when a fighter just said, I can't do it. I can't make the walk from the back to the ring. They just couldn't get up the gumption to go back. And you know what? Everybody in the back was very understanding of it. They said, oh, I completely understand where you're at, but we all go through that. You have to understand that that's a feeling that we all have. So managing your nerves and avoiding that adrenaline dump, as they call it, is
Yeah.
something that you've definitely been working on. You said breathing. That's great. I like breathing techniques. Also, have you used visualization as far as getting over anxieties and nerves as well?
A little bit. I'm fortunate enough that my first time around was also with King, so it's the same event space. So because I've now done it, I can you can just picture the whole series of events leading up to it. So the fight itself, I don't visualize too much, but everything leading up to it just makes it more familiar, you know?
You know what I always do because I do visualization as a broadcaster when I have to commentate like USA Boxing or something like that. I
Okay.
I think about different situations that will come up and how I can react to them in the most entertaining and energetic way possible. But you know what I always visualize at the end of that is I always visualize everybody telling me what a great job I did. Yeah, yeah. Always visualize the kudos at the end of the day. Let it rain in. I mean, it's your visualization. You might as well make it as good as it can be, right? I mean,
I think it's a good idea because a lot of guys, even though I had lost and I felt like I didn't perform, a lot of guys just come up to you, just folks from fans, other people's parents, and they're like, that was a great fight, man. You did your best, and it makes a difference having that feeling. So I can totally understand that sentiment, and I think it's a good one.
now you're a big boy. You are 6 foot, and you're going to be fighting in heavyweight, super heavyweight, whatever the top heavyweight division
Yeah.
is. So do you have to cut weight, or you just walk around naturally on the
No,
floor?
no, I'm fortunate enough I can just walk around. I just show up. I feel bad because I show up and everyone's like starving. You can't pull out any food,
Yeah,
until after the weigh-in.
I'm in with Taco Bell, and everybody's like, you, man. You seriously,
Exactly.
seriously. I literally have 3 trash bags on and 4 pairs of sweatpants, and you're eating Taco Bell. Actually, it'd be Tim Hortons up there. Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, yeah.
Grab yourself a bear claw and get involved. All right, so you've always been out of this gym then. You've always been in Windsor, Ontario. When you have you traveled for fights? Have you gotten an opportunity to get into any other gyms outside of your comfort zone and train with people that you're not used to?
So we have like fight team training that we do with a handful of other gyms in the city because there's only so many people in the sport. It's really small. So being able to get guys with 6 fights, 10 fights, 12 fights. We've had a couple old hands, guys that had a few dozen as pros, which has been great because they can just those old hands can really pressure you in a way that like young guys that are starting can't. So yeah, the city itself, I think, is trying to come together to foster talent growth, even if it's technically different sports. Like you got boxers, kickboxers, MMA guys. So we all kind of work it in. Um, Unfortunately, I've had shows out of town that have been canceled. So
Mm.
nothing out of town yet, but I'd love to be able to go up to the big cities and or get some of the big tournaments in next year would be lovely.
Now, your main focus thus far has been kickboxing, Muay Thai, all of that. Do you have plans for the future to get in on MMA and get into some grappling?
I don't think so. I'm a little bit long in the tooth to start. I trained in my 18 or late teens, early 20s, but I didn't have the consistency, right? Didn't have the consistency, even if maybe there was some passion there. So took a break when I had kids and stuff like that. Now 33, started last year. So to add grappling, to add wrestling, it's a whole nother mountain from striking. And I think if you really want to be good at that, you have to kind of start just a little bit younger. Whereas with striking, or if I was to just say BJJ, I guess kind of like pick one mountain or the other, and I went with this one. So
All right. So you mentioned you've got kids. Which is harder, being a fighter or being a dad?
definitely being a dad, man. Way like the stress, like I know if I can go in the ring, and even if I get beat up or whatever, it's like, all right, well, my feelings are hurt a little bit, but like I'm trying to shape this person to have more opportunities than I had and to teach him not to close doors on himself, right? Like we all kind of did when we were young and just silly.
Yes, you gotta allow them to make mistakes, but not too big of mistakes, right? Because they have
Yeah.
to learn for themselves. But you can't let them fall off the cliff, right? You got to. It's like, hold on a second, hold on a second. Hey, you can do that, but don't do that. All right. So you're 33. Look, after 30, fighters and I just even me being able to box out at the gym, I've come to understand that after 30, you get that grown man strength. Did you feel that? Have you felt that? Is that something that you rely on now as you're getting a little bit older? You're like, hey, I'm stronger than you are, buddy.
Definitely a little bit. I've been fortunate enough that I worked different manual labor jobs over the years, stuff like that. Um, my father owns a tree company. Sometimes I'll get out there and help him. He's in his 50s now, late 50s, and I don't know how he still does it, man, because that shit will kick your butt. But I
Yeah.
definitely see that. You get the young guys, even when they're big, you're like, come on, use your muscles. I know you got them. I'm not that tough, man.
Now, what do you think's the biggest difference between Canadian fighters and American fighters?
um, I actually don't know if there is one. Maybe the attitude.
Yeah, whereas you're like, sorry, I just choked you out there. It's okay though. Yeah, it's probably got something to do with an attitude. Just like think about it this way: in America, we put up a wall. You guys would put shrubbery up, with a welcome sign.
It's hard with everything going on politically, but I don't think there's that many differences. Like so many Canadians travel to the U.S., so many Americans come here. I don't think there's any two countries on earth that have as shared similar cultures as we do.
I
So
agree.
we get American guys come to the gym, and if they didn't tell you they were American, you wouldn't know. You know what I mean? So unless they came up from the South, and then you get the accents, or Boston, New York. You guys got
Boston.
the cool accents. We don't have any
Yeah,
cool
Boston.
accents up
Boston's a dead giveaway, man. Boston's a dead giveaway. Oh yeah, you're from the States and the South too. They're like, bless your heart, and you're like, all right, settle down over there.
here.
Um, So, as do you think living in a smaller area with a tight knit group has benefited you in the fight game, or do you think ultimately getting into a bigger gym in a bigger city will be your main goal?
I mean, I think getting into a bigger gym would be nice. It's not on my agenda. Maybe young guys that really want to push themselves to go pro can do that for a little while, both with the financial resources that are needed to just travel out of town for a while, right?
Yeah.
So no, for me, I'm really fortunate that we have a good competitive team, and we pressure test because we compete so much. We can pressure test, and so you're going to run into the guys from the big gyms, and you're going to find out what you got to learn, right?
Mhm.
And you're going to have to do that either way. So I might as well do it at home with the people that I'm going to know for the rest of my life, right?
Yeah, no, you know what? Might as well have the support group around you. And I totally get that. Now, being a father, with all of the great things that combat sports and just sports in general do for you as a kid growing up, do you think that you'll push for sports for your kids?
Yeah, we're trying to encourage him. He's big on track and field, so he's always loved that. I don't know if that's just what clicked with him. You know, some people are lucky where they have something register early on in their life that they love. I think that's him. It's sprints. You know, the 100 to 800. So every year he gets super competitive with that. He comes in to train with me. You know, he does kids classes and stuff, but he's just casual. He just shows up. He wants to hang out with friends, get some work in. You know, he doesn't have any aspirations to fight, which is fine. Like, you have to have the conviction.
Yeah, not everybody's John Jones, you know what I'm saying? But it's just good. We talked about this the other day, and it's just good to get into a gym. Look, keeping kids off the street is what gyms do. And when we keep kids off the streets, we keep them away from drugs and all of the rest of the nonsense that goes on in these streets. So just getting into a gym and being part of a community, I think is beneficial, especially because being in a gym will help you physically and mentally as well. So there's really no drawback to it because not everybody wants to get punched in the face, neck, chest, and breast area at all times. And I can understand that.
I think too, for the tough kids that happen to come in, because you experience it and it's so real and finite in the moment, when you do get tagged in the face and your eyes roll back, you're like, I don't think I need to do this to like prove that I'm tougher than the next kid at school. You know, like you lose that the fuel to go into conflicts that aren't necessary. You know.
Oh, yeah, totally. Because you're experiencing it after school in the gym. So
In a
why would you
controlled
want to?
environment.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you want to double dip on that? Speaking of double dipping, for a big man who walks around and doesn't have to cut weight, what are some of your favorite foods to eat? Just because you can.
um, you know, it's the usual stuff, man. Like, I order pizza too much. My wife hates it.
Oh,
You know what I mean? But I can't help it. It's at least once a week. I try not more than that. But other than that, I'm eating pretty clean because I am trying to cut weight. Towards the tail end of COVID, I was having a rough time, and I had ballooned up to like 400 pounds,
oh,
like just
geez.
under that. So now I'm at my usual weight, which is around 260. So I'm back to that. But
Congratulations, dude. That you're acting like that was a hop, skip, and a jump, man. Like, yeah, I had to cut 5 pounds to make weight, dude. You like cut 200, well, 150 pounds, man. Good for you. Congratulations.
and so yeah, you know, I got 40 more to go because I want to get around to walking around 220 because then I might be able to do a reasonable cut like these other guys are into the sort of light heavyweight because there's no weight limit on heavyweight. Some guy can walk in Shaquille O'Neal and just he doesn't have to be good. He just got to get his paws on you, you know. So
Run away, run away, run
yeah,
away.
I don't
Uh,
think I don't think there's anything I can do against like Eddie Hall or Brian Shaw. It doesn't matter how much training I've had.
yeah, you can hope for the best. Is what you can do.
It's not going to happen. Man.
Can you cross your fingers in those gloves? I'm not entirely positive. uh, all right, you're 0-1. You got to come back. You got to get in there and mix it up. You don't know who you're fighting, but are you willing to make a prediction on how the fight will go?
Yeah, I've seen how much I've improved. I was pretty new the first time out. Now I kind of know what to expect nerve wise, how to control that, and I know just how much I've been able to improve in the gym and start working with guys who are pros, guys who have been around a lot longer. So I just have a better view of the field and kind of where I sit in it. And I know that you know, everyone's trying to work towards the summit, but now I have a better idea of where I am on that journey. Um, so yeah, I think probably a lot of knee strikes. I'm not flexible enough to kick the tall guys in the head yet. The
Oh
short guys I
no.
can get, the short guys I can get, the tall guys not yet. So it's a lot of body work, you know. But yeah, first time it was just like I'm just gonna go out. What happens happens. This time it's much more. Yeah, I guess a little bit of visualizing and knowing my own tools, right?
Yeah, you know what? You got to be self-actualized at the end of the day. And I saw you drop the summit in there, so you owe me 10 cents. It's a naming right, okay? I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm just saying. I get it, okay? Top
Oh, I
three.
didn't know it was a registered trademark.
Oh, yes. You didn't see the little TM over there? I don't know if it plays in Canada. It definitely plays here in the States, though. All right. This is we're not done yet. We've got a couple more segments to go. Of course, we got to get to the illustrious 5 questions. But before we get there, I'd like to do a little something where I give you the floor. You can talk about anything you want, your sponsors, your gym, your mom, your dad, your wife, your favorite video game, your favorite whatever you want to talk about. Sponsors that you don't have, but you wish you did. This is your time to promote whatever you need to do.
I don't think I have anything to promote. I think with everything going on right now, I just whoever happens to tune in, um, try to be motivated by the things that push you towards caring about your fellow man. It's really easy to be motivated by fear and anger and hate, but they never result in anything positive. So if you can, in whatever path you're pursuing in life, right, art, fighting, do it because you love it, and support the other people around you that hopefully do too. You know.
And we love to support positivity here on the Logan Summit Show. So I'm very glad that you threw a little bit of positivity down. And look, if you want to watch, just like you said, anybody who can watch, wants to watch, get involved right here on millions.co. It will be available. That is the King Striking series. And my main man, Michael Robinson, will be fighting on May 24th. Like I said, you can catch it right here on millions.co. All right, now it's that time to break forth the rhythm and the rhyme as we get into 5 questions. Yes, Michael, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's 5 questions. But hey, who's counting? Maybe there'll be some other questions in there. But let's
I didn't get
start
in
it
the
off.
fight game to do math, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't have an abacus and I'm not taking my shoes off for you, okay? So I can't count that well, is what I'm getting at. 5 questions, as always, is brought to you by Newhouse. Visit newhouse.com for all of your office and home decor. If you're sitting in a gaming chair right now, do yourself a favor and get on over there. I've got 2 Ergo 3D chairs and they are fantastic. Use code Logan Radio Rocks to save yourself a little bit of that cash. And yes, I know what you're thinking. All of the links to all of our sponsors will be available when this video becomes available at millions.co right in the description. All right, here we go. 5 questions time. All right, you're Canadian. Let's start off with an easy one. What's your favorite hockey team?
I'm going to say the Wings. I
Okay.
can't. Yeah, Red Wings. Because you guys are right across there. Growing up, that was like my uncle was the cool guy that I
Oh,
admired growing up,
God.
and he was a Wings fan, right? So,
Oh, God, please. Yeah, somewhere there's a Canadian going, mm, we're
oh yeah,
not we're not sorry right now.
there's a lot of Leafs fans around here, man.
Yo, dude, the Leafs are the mecca of all of that is hockey. That place was going ballistic the other day. The only problem with the Leafs is that you have to get used to crying at the end of every hockey season. That's just, I mean, grown men cry in bathtubs while drinking really strong Molson Canadians, okay? I'm just saying. There's some things going on there. All right, as a heavyweight, look, we all know the UFC heavyweight division has kind of been in shambles as far as champions are concerned over the last few years. We're starting to get back into some heavyweights. But let's talk about who was your favorite heavyweight in the UFC growing up.
You know what? I'm going to say DC. There was some guys a little bit before him, but he was kind of as I entered my teenage years, my formative years. DC kind of was coming on the scene, came out of Strike Force, and
Yep.
other than like I'm a white dude and he's a black dude, we had very similar bodies, you know, because he's in there. He's just like 5'11". He's got a little bit of chub on him, and he's going against monsters, and he's just bodying guys. And I'm like, I like this dude.
Yo, and he still talks trash at the commentator booth, man. You got to
Oh
give
yeah, but he can. He's earned it.
Yeah, you can. You can. You got to give Daniel some credit. By the way, if you don't know what DC stands for, it's Daniel Cormier. And he's now moved his way into the commentator booth, taking a job out of my hands. Thank you so much, DC. I don't need to eat. I don't need to have a roof over my head. I get it. All right. Question number 3 of 5 questions. Letterkenny or Shoresy? Which is better?
Oh, I've heard a lot about Letterkenny. I haven't watched either of them, but I'll say Letterkenny just because I've had a lot of good word, but I haven't made my way to watching it yet.
But you've seen Shoresy?
But is that Jersey Shores?
No, Shoresy. It's the
I
spinoff. You are the second Canadian I've had on this show in a week and a half, and neither of you have seen the shows. It's like the biggest import from Canada, Letterkenny and Shoresy, and all the Canadians are like, I haven't seen it yet. Yes, Shoresy's the hockey one. It's all about the hockey players and stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I like Shoresy better, but you know what? When you get some free time, you'll have to look into it. Now you've got homework, Michael, okay? All right. Question number 4. Let's look inward for this one. If you could do one thing better, what would it be? And that's inside or outside of the ring. What's one thing you wish you could do better?
Oh man, if I could rewind the clock, just approaching a lot of things differently with my son, because I had him young. You're growing up. I was in a relationship young as well. Like we're still together, so we've been together since we were teenagers, right? You get a lot of growing pains, and it's our first time being parents. So yeah, if it's something like it's those things, and it's just little things, here and there that I think help shape who you are. And nothing severe, but yeah, just it's hard not to have that anxiety or like I did something wrong.
I don't like holding babies because I feel like I'm going to break them. And everybody says they're very resilient. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to drop one on their head. They're not Cabbage Patch dolls over here. They're living, breathing things. I have enough trouble keeping a cactus alive. And I live in Vegas, for the love of God. I live in the desert, and I can't keep cacti alive. So I'm a cool uncle. I like it when I get to give I'll hang out with your kid. We'll go do stuff. I'll have a lot of fun, but I want to just give him back. I'm like, hey, he's yours now. I just got him all sugared up, and here's a really loud toy I bought him. Have fun. He's yours. And I just walk away.
That's the way to do it, man.
That is the way to do it, right? All right. Question number 5. I will give you an example before you have to answer this, okay? But what is one thing that Americans don't know about Canadians? And I'm going to give you my one. Americans don't know that pineapple on pizza was actually founded in Canada. Yeah, everybody's like, oh, it's Hawaii. No, it's not. It's Canada. You can, and all the fights on the internet, blame Canada for that, all right? That's true, by the way. You're looking at me like it's not true. Look it up.
No, I'm thinking now. I'm trying to prepare an answer.
I could hear a hamster wheel turning. I was trying to decide.
Yeah, right.
Exactly what was happening.
I was worried some smoke would start coming out, man.
Well, you're not going to give us a history lesson on the War of 1812, but is there one thing that just jumps out at you when you meet an American and they're like, "Oh, really?"
I guess Canadians, you always picture us being further north. But I think it's the 48th or the 49th parallels where most of the border is. There's actually more Americans that live north of that than there are Canadians. So.
Okay. That's your More You Know moment brought to you by Michael. All right. That counts. I didn't know that. I had no idea, but I get it. Hey, you are our woodsy neighbors to the north, and I've been to Canada. I mean, more times than I could literally count. My family's from Buffalo, so it all makes sense now. I just got to go over that bridge, and boom, I'm there. There used to be this place right over the border, but they closed during COVID. That was like the best Chinese food restaurant on the face of the planet. I used to literally just go over the border just to get that Chinese food and come back. I was always waiting for him to search my car because, sir, you've been in Canada for an hour and a half. Exactly what were you doing?
Just been eating, man.
Yeah, I was having Chinese food.
Yeah, I come here for the MSG, man.
Yeah, that's right. I wanted that real MSG. You know, it's funny, when I was a kid growing up, we obviously don't know what MSG is, but we used to go to Chinese food restaurants and I used to get hay fever, not realizing that was a byproduct of MSG.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So if you were a kid and you had MSG and you felt like a little funny, that was MSG. You just didn't know it. Hey, anything that
It's worth
provides
it though,
flavor
man.
to food, right?
Yeah, it's worth it.
Totally worth it. Exactly. I agree with you. All right. Um, hey, Michael, thank you for being here. You've got a big fight coming up on May 24th at the King Striking Series. It will be available right here on millions.co. So you can check it out on pay-per-view right here. We've got all the best fights, and I've got all the best fighters. We've got one more interview coming up today at 4:15 Pacific. That's 7:15 Eastern if you're not into the West Coast. I understand. All right, Michael, we'll see you again real soon. Best of luck on your win, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you before your next bout. I appreciate you being here.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man.
And I appreciate you being here as well. So make sure that you do me this simple favor. Be good to yourself and be kind to others. Pay it forward, play it forward. Rock like a party star, party like a rock star. Smile strong, laugh loud. And last but not least, please like, follow, and subscribe so you will know when I'll be back throwing it down and getting down to that beat down. All right, Michael, like I always say, just remember, everybody loves a good fight. We'll see you next time. Thanks again, Michael.
See ya. Do you want me to head out? I don't know if I should.